Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Christy Dondero Betwe of Rock Recovery. Christy, it's awesome having you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Gresh. Good to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Christy so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Christy serves as the executive director for Rock Recovery, a nonprofit that helps people overcome eating disorders and mental health challenges by combining clinical and community care. Having gone through recovery herself, she understands the depth of support needed to recover and is passionate about spreading the message that freedom from disordered eating is possible. She is an active speaker and shares her story with organizations and media outlets across the country. Prior to coming on staff at Rock Recovery, Christy worked as a consultant with Prince Waterhouse Coopers and served as an associate development director for Habitat for Humanity's seventh largest national affiliate chapter in Charlotte, North Carolina. Christy now resides in Washington, D.C. with her husband, Ryan. Christy, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm ready, yeah.
Awesome, let's do it. So I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more about what I call your CEO story. We'll let you get started with your organization.
Sure. So I'm an accidental CEO, I think. I don't know if it's a common trait or not that people have, but I got involved with recovery about a year after it was founded. So I joke that I adopted the organization. I didn't birth it, but I'm very attached to it now. And I have personal lived experience with an eating disorder, which is what brought me to this field. And after recovering and going through the hard work of recovery, I realized, wow, there's a lot of people who don't have access to things that I had access to that you really need to get better. And what are these people going to do? Who's going to help them? And so kind of over a period of years, I got involved with Rock Recovery and realized this organization is doing so much to bridge gaps for people in the mental health space and helping them get the care that they need. And you read my bio, I had a very interesting past. If you look at a resume, you'd be like, this person didn't know what they wanted to do with their life for a really long time. I was a PR person out of college, worked for Habitat for Humanity, like you said, that I loved. And then I was a consultant for a bit too. So I think the beauty of being a CEO now is that all of those skills I developed over the years all come in handy on a daily basis, even though it seems like they were all super varied and kind of random. They really help me flourish in my role now. And it's been really neat to see how even a random resume can wind up being a really big asset for you down the road.
Yeah.
And then Rock Recovery, a bit about the organization, if you want to hear a bit about our official work, is that we help people overcome eating disorders, which is a huge issue that people just don't talk about in our society, even though it's super prevalent. Mental health generally is definitely ramping up as a society, and there's a lot more work to be done to educate and to treat and to support people who need a little extra help. But we provide clinical programs, community events. Like you mentioned, I speak quite a bit and share my story of recovery, and I always joke, I don't have fancy letters behind my name like all the therapists that we have on staff with us, but I have a story, and that gives me some street cred in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say that. And I think that so many times, as you kind of, touched on as well, too, people don't know that there's a way out, whenever they're going through an eating disorder or any kind of frustration. And I think by you being able to tell your story, for one, obviously, it's an incredible story. It gives you the opportunity to talk about how you overcome, but it also kind of empowers people as well, too, to say that it is actually possible when sometimes you think that it can't be.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I always joke. I pity the person that sits by me on a plane and asks what I do for a living, because, depending on how long the flight is, they might be sad they asked me that question. But the more I share my story and talk about my own experience, I can't really say what I do for a living without mentioning that I'm recovered and it's personal. So things get serious real quick if you meet me at a dinner party or on an airplane. But the more that I share, the more people share back. It's so much more common that someone's like, oh my gosh, me too, or my brother or my partner or my sister. It's just so much more common that people have the stories. They're just not talking about it because there still is stigma. There still is shame. And my whole life's work is to remove that shame, because people don't need to be ashamed for struggling. We're human. Of course, things get hard, and mental illness is a really common thing to struggle with. And it's okay. It's okay to go through these hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you, doing your part in speaking and letting people know about that because I think, as you said, it's something that is definitely prevalent in so many different people, even the most high performing people. A lot of times you don't realize that they're dealing with something because we all are in some form, shape, or fashion. So I appreciate you for having that vulnerability and also kind of letting people be connected to you so that they can, feel at home and feel like they're safe in terms of being able to kind of express that.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest lies that we believe in our own personal struggles, whether it be work, relationship, mental, is that we're alone and we're the only ones. And it's just not true. We all have something that we go through at some point in time. And so to be able to share the story of recovery, it gets better is hope that we can really offer people, because it does. There's real improvement and freedom that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you touched on it a little bit. Could you take us through like exactly, how rock recovery works, how the programs and process work for people that might be listening?
Absolutely. I really do love this organization, and our programs are so unique. So we really uniquely combine community support and clinical care. A lot of our programs are done in group environments, and so virtual or in person. So group therapy, group meals, and then because we really believe in the power of clinical experts. So we have most of our groups are run by actually licensed clinicians, but we believe in the power of peer to peer. We call it the gift of I get it. For
Mm.
someone else across the table to say something that you've thought your whole life and thought, gosh, no one else thinks these horrible things, or no one else has struggled like this. And then someone else mentions the same thing and you realize, oh man, someone does get it. And for people with eating disorders, they often have great family or great friends, but if they haven't gone through it themselves, it's hard to know how to support somebody. So we give that peer, that shoulder to shoulder gift of I get it. We also give the clinical expertise that people really need. You need the experts, you need the fancy letters behind the name. And then we also help just with the cost. So all of our programs, because we're a nonprofit and because there's a lot of different barriers in the healthcare system right now, and especially with mental health and insurance generally, a lot of places aren't able to take insurance and everything is private pay out of pocket. So our clients are paying $200 an hour for a therapist. And if you're a teacher, if you're a single parent, I mean, you just can't afford that. It's just not sustainable. You need to put groceries in the fridge and, keep a roof over your head. So we also provide all of our programs on sliding scale and work with community partners, wonderful donors, lots of generous supporters of ours to help make the cost accessible for anybody. And because we don't have to work through the insurance company, we're able to do sliding scale so that all people have access to the care that they need. And right now we're just in the DC metro area in Virginia, DC and Maryland, but we're looking at expanding across the nation because we think this is something that the entire nation and the entire world really needs, this clinical and community piece really coming together.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And as we, talked about it in the beginning, that, it's not something that is in one pocket or one place, is literally all across the world, that it's something that people need and they need a place to go. And the I get it is a huge thing. I love that because so many times we can feel by ourselves, but getting the opportunity to understand that not just I'm struggling, but everybody's struggling in their own specific way. And somebody can relate to me is such a huge game changer in my opinion. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and it could be for yourself personally or your organization. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Uh, a secret sauce. I mean, I think for our organization, our people are literally our product. Like we're a service organization that's providing therapy and resources through humans. And the thing that makes us really unique and the thing that I've really seen help us thrive is that we care for our people. We care for our staff, we care for our clients, we care for the community. It's really easy when you're a CEO or an entrepreneur because you're so passionate about the thing that you're doing that you get caught in the to-do list, you get caught in the next best thing you can do, or doing better, doing more. And sometimes that expense means that humans get left behind and that either other people or yourself. So for me, self-care, it's a kind of trite and corny phrase that people are talking about a little bit more now, but self-care is so critical. It's the whole oxygen principle. You put your oxygen mask on first before you care for somebody else. So as we're caring for our organizations, as we're providing great service, you have to care for your people, and that starts with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times in business or in organizations, we sometimes lose sight of that. But obviously, the core of what you all are doing is helping out people. So you are right in line with what exactly we should be doing all of the time. So I absolutely kind of love that, that secret sauce. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an Apple book or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
There's this phrase that I've come to love called the next right thing, do the next right thing. And I feel like I early on, especially as I came on staff with Rock Recovery, got really stuck because I was like, oh my gosh, we have millions of people we could serve. There's 8 million things I could do today. How am I going to possibly figure out what to do with this next 24-hour period when this issue is so much bigger than myself? And so taking a step back, and while not, of course, it's important to look at the whole scope of things and have that vision orientation, it's also really important to not get the analysis paralysis and just do the next right thing. So that's a phrase that I've often repeated to myself. It's actually a book by Emily P. Freeman. It's been quoted by many people over the years, but one of the recent books I've really enjoyed is Emily P. Freeman, The Next Right Thing. And it's helped me in the moment. I don't have to panic about a week from now or a month from now or a year right from now. Like, what am I going to do right now in 5 minutes? And it keeps me on track and not getting stuck in like a fear-based cycle or loop of inactivity.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I was thinking, when you were saying that, everybody says, what's the quickest way to eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. You think about these big, huge, goals and aspirations. A lot of times we're truly passionate about what it is that we do. And we want to save as many and help as many people. But the best way to do that is by helping the person that's in front of you, just doing the thing that's in front of you. And it starts to create that opportunity, that snowball effect where you start to truly see the impact of what we're doing.
Yeah, it really is baby steps, isn't it? And this is true for recovery. I've been recovered now for over 10 years, and that was all
Gosh.
it is. It's like do the next right thing, baby step, one thing at a time. And that's, I think, true for growth as an organization or anything else too. It's just a bunch of really annoying baby steps, but that's how growth happens.
Exactly. That's how the babies walk into the adults that we are now. We have to take it one step at a time. So I
Look at
wanted
us
to ask
now.
you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So that could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice or something you might tell yourself if you were to hop into a time machine.
Oh gosh. I think what I would tell myself is perfect is the enemy of good, and don't get so stuck on being perfect all the time. Kind of going back to that analysis paralysis piece. I've always struggled with perfectionism. I really want to do things excellently, which can be such a great gift, but can also be a curse at some point
Hmm.
because it can get you really stuck. And if I could have gone back and told myself, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even just like give yourself some grace, have some compassion. I used to think that I would only make progress if I beat myself up and was super hard on myself. Like it seemed to me like, oh, criticism is what will actually drive performance. But I've actually found that empathy and compassion drives performance for me, not criticism. So, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try to do it perfectly. Of course, we want to be excellent, but we have limitations. We are not an infinite resource. We have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to do all these things, and just we don't have to do it perfectly. We can have some self compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I had a job, and I think my boss used to always say, "Don't let the perfect get in the way of the possible." And I think so many times that we don't take those steps because we look and want it to be perfect, and when we get kind of stuck on that, we sometimes don't take action at all. Or if we really do take action, maybe really, do a phenomenal job, we still are kind of super critical of ourselves, and we wanted it, this one thing that maybe nobody noticed to be exactly this way, and it can steal our joy and steal our opportunity from all the phenomenal things that we're doing as well.
And when our activity is voted by fear, I think the real there's actually not a lot of benefits to that. The benefit might be get a lot done temporarily, but the real problem with being motivated by fear is eventually it's kind of contagious. The people around us are going to catch on to this frenzied state. I think about this a lot. Being at the head of an organization, I think of the phrase, to those who much are given, much is expected a lot. And I'm like, whoa, I set the tone for this place. I set everything. I could tell my employees, oh yeah, take care of yourself and do all these things. But if I'm emailing them on Saturday, like, am I really setting a good example? So the idea of, it starts at the top in a lot of ways and trickles down, and we have to practice what we preach, and or else it's just going to get us all in trouble, I feel like. So yeah, and it's just not sustainable And we don't want to be the rotten fruit that kind of spreads across our organization.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times we set the tone of exactly what we hope to see. So that brings me to now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And I wasn't sure if you already touched on this, but if you were to define CEO, how would you define it?
Gosh, it's such a great question. So I think if I define CEO, to some degree, it is leadership, but more so for me, I love the idea of servant leadership. I think I had this moment when I became CEO of Rock Recovery that I realized, oh my gosh, I am driving this organization. Whatever I choose to do is going to change the course of our entire program history. It's going to change our clients' lives. We might save lives, we might lose lives. Like, I have this responsibility to make wise decisions, and it's going to impact real lives and real people. And so I think of the idea of servant leadership too, of how can I care for others around me? How can I actually be a little bit deeper and not look at just the super things, but look at the whole person and the people that we're serving, the people that I get to work with shoulder to shoulder. But I feel like being a CEO is leadership. And again, that trickles down, and it's a weighty responsibility to be at the top of something because you're shifting and shaping it. So I think to be a CEO also means to be a creator. You're creating something that wouldn't exist without you, and that's a lot. That's just a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I truly appreciate that perspective and that definition. I think when you have that servant leadership, obviously, as you all have in your organization, and I think you understand that you have the ability. I usually say, like, a lot of times a CEO can be like an artist where you are the creator, you create that vision, you paint that canvas for what you have and also for the people that are around you and the organization has as well. So definitely appreciate that perspective and that definition. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out all awesome things you and your team are working on.
Yeah, well, kind of dangerous thing to pass the mic. I have a lot to say. So as far as getting in touch with me, people can go on Recovery's website, which is just www.rockrecoveryed.org. We've got contact forms there, some great resources for you or your loved ones, and would love to hear from you. And then just things I'd like to say, generally, as far as this issue goes with disordered eating and mental wellness and mental health in our society, I just want people to know it's okay if they struggle, that they shouldn't feel ashamed, and it's okay to need help. I get to hang out with therapists most days for free without paying a copay or any kind of fee to hang out with them because it's my work. And I am just amazed at the experts that we have available to us, and it's okay to need them. If we go to the doctor, why don't we go see a therapist? We need to care for our whole selves. So just that encouragement as you're leading, as you're driving, as you're figuring out your goals and your vision, don't forget to take care of yourself, and don't forget to pay attention to your mental health in addition to your physical health, because it matters and it all kind of flows out of that. And it's okay if we need help, and it's okay if we struggle. Just because we're in charge or we're the leaders doesn't mean we have to be perfect, and doesn't mean we have to have all the answers even. And we all need each other, and that's it's an okay thing, because community is where a lot of life happens.
Absolutely. I truly appreciate that perspective, and I appreciate that kind of leave behind as well too, Chrissy, because I think so many times we can kind of get caught up on, things being perfect, of not struggling, when in reality, everybody struggles. And not only do people struggle on the way to success, people just struggle generally speaking, and you're not alone and by doing that. So I truly appreciate you for reminding us of that message. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you and connect with you. But thanks for being part of our community, and letting us learn so much from you, and I truly appreciate you and everything you're doing, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thanks, Crush. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you.